So, back for another episode of My Thing, Tales of a Reformed Gangster. And have a very special guest today. On behalf of the National Crime Syndicate, for those of you who don't know that I'm a partner in the website National Crime Syndicate, who publishes my Lindblom Chronicles, I am going to be interviewing Frank DiMatteo today, the author and ex-good fella from Brooklyn, who has a really interesting story and some crazy stories. And he actually got a new book out, and I think everybody should hear his story and everybody should read his book. Simply, I'm not trying to sell the book. All I'm saying is every once in a while you'll get a rare insider view of a mafia crew or family or life, all right? And that isn't a rat, that isn't an informant. And you can't trust an informant because what they do half the time is make crap up to save their ass or make themselves look good to sell books. And in this case, that's not the case, all right? Frank was a real guy, was there on the ground, and didn't rat, walked away years ago. He was able to walk away, which is one of the few guys who were able to walk away from life and not end up either dead in jail or prison or whatever. So, Frank, happy to have you, man. Say hello.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
So, there's so much to your story, and I know you're an older gentleman, no offense, but you kind of rubbed elbows with some serious players and heavy hitters back in the day. But what I would like to know is, how did you first get into the life? Everybody's story is different. And my story, I'm sure, is completely different than how you got in. But at the same time, I bet you there's similarities. Young guy, you see, got a little money, or just wanted some money, or wanted something they have, and just said, I'm going to hustle a little bit. And before you know it, you're pulled in. So when did you get pulled in?
I had no clue of the life. I was born into this. My father was a bodyguard for Larry Gallo. So to me, it was all natural. I had no want or desire. I just grew into it and naturally.
Well, not to interrupt, but say, you and I have that in common. I was literally exactly the same. I'm a Tocco. My mother was Grace Carmela Tocco. Her uncle was the boss of the Detroit family, and my uncle Pete was her younger brother, and he kind of introduced. I was born into it, so I was around it so much and part of it that it was like normal. It was just my life, our life growing up. So I wasn't but I did get slowly pulled into crime, for the family. And so I'm sure a point came with you, that's what happened.
Exactly. Being, with Ricky being bodyguard to Larry, we were very close, Larry Gallo, being very close to, that family. So as a young kid, these are guys like uncles to me. They were always around. And, as you get older, you do emulate a little bit, and maybe not the crimes or the thing, but this the style, the look, and when I was just old enough to start driving, my father just made me start driving, and that's exactly how I started. They didn't want me to do no crimes or nothing like that when I was young. In fact, they protected me, really protected me. They didn't want me to do anything except drive, and that's how I started. I started young driving, and then you just move on to the next thing. As I got older, I think I didn't start doing any crimes until, I don't know, I did a lot of crimes, but until I was a little older. And
tell me,
then
what were those first crimes? What were they? Were you driving? I get it. I did the same thing as a driver for my grandpa and uncle, so I get it. And then at some point, as a driver, they started to think you're a stand-up kid. They like you. They're like, yo, I need you to do a little something. And then what was it?
First things you do, what we did was we just moved numbers around. We picked up the number slips. Guns had to be moved around. We moved the guns. And most likely, that was most of the things we did when we were young. Just pick up slips, move guns around, and be a flunky. Run around, whatever else they wanted. Yeah, we ran and got pizza if they wanted. That's what we did.
Yeah, I was the same guy. So
yeah.
You started with Larry Gallo. Who was that in relation to Joe Gallo?
Larry, there was three brothers. It was Larry Gallo, Joey Gallo, and Albert Gallo. They were the three brothers that came up to the Bafacci family.
Yeah. So you're coming up a little bit, you're driving around, you're running numbers, moving some guns. Like this all resonates with me really well, Frank, because I did the same freaking thing, man. I was a flunky, and I never really rose up past flunky status. But one thing I was known for being a lunatic. And so, like, if they needed somebody, they wanted somebody intimidated or hurt, I was the guy they'd call. And I was good at that. I was good at finding guys, but, I'm half Sicilian, so I'm only half. And so they kind of looked at me like secondhand help anyways, because so my counter to that was just be crazy as a mother effer, you know what I'm saying? And I was, but so they kind of like I wouldn't even say they liked me a lot. I'm sure they did, but they were like, better to keep this kid close than making like an enemy out of him, because he's freaking a live wire. But anyway, so
of course,
so your story. So where did it go from there?
Well, like I said, being Ricky was so close with so many guys. Don't forget. Well, the story starts that Ricky was a bouncer in the wagon wheel, and he started working for Tony Bender, and that's how he got recognized. Joey Gallo and Larry was coming into the wagon wheel in the late 50s, and Ricky was bouncing. And what happened was Ricky got into a fight with Emil Griffith. He wound up knocking him out in 2 punches, 2 3 punches.
The boxer?
Yeah, it was just fighting for the world championship. And what happened was Ricky wound up knocking him out in the wagon wheel, 3 shots. And Larry noticed and saw that they were there. And he asked Tony Bender who this guy was. And Tony Bender says, it's Ricky. He's a bouncer. He's from Brooklyn. And they took a liking to it. And that's how Ricky wound up with going to Brooklyn with Larry Gallo. And he wound up being close with Larry. He wound up being a driver and bodyguard. But that's how it all started. He was a bouncer he came out of Korea, went to work for the airlines, Ricky, for a little while. Wound up being a bouncer. He was a boxer. He was a semi-pro boxer. So and wound up as a bouncer at the wagon wheel, and that's how the whole thing started. And he wound up with Larry in Brooklyn, and that's where the whole thing started. I started a little kid, meeting everybody, shining his shoes, getting my cheek pinched, and this worked my way up until I was old enough to drive. And from driving, I was always privy to stuff because I was Ricky's son. So being Ricky's son, you get it, you get treated well. And no one ever asked me to do nothing wrong. They were afraid to ask to do anything wrong because they didn't want to go after my father. So I just started driving until I was old enough. And then
I know driving, because I used to drive my grandpa around. Just like you said, you become privy to a lot of stuff. Now I was like a 19-year-old freaking half breed, but my grandfather, who was like royalty, mob royalty, I would drive him around because his eyes went bad and he was dangerous driving. So I let me drive. So I drive all these like meetings and gatherings. As you know, the old Sicilians are really social. They like to hang out. They like to tell stories. I smoke cigars, play penny poker. They're always in a social club or one of their, they all had businesses like used car lots and stuff where they all in the back just hang out. And so I'm sitting there getting privy to these inside conversations and kind of the inner workings of how the family works and the rackets and the union manipulations and who's getting the big contracts, who's what city officials and stuff like that. They got on their patent to freaking get contracts and all that crap that I shouldn't be getting at 19 years old. So I get it, man. Just being a driver, man, you can really get exposed to some serious players and hear the stuff that nobody else is hearing.
You definitely do. My father always had a code for me, but when it wasn't necessary for me to hear something or be a part of something, he used to tell me, "You want to go have a drink," and that was a code for me, that telling me that you really don't have to listen to this stuff, because he was really a bright guy.
Yeah.
As crazy as he was very bright, and he believed that you shouldn't know shit you don't supposed to know.
Yeah, no. I was the same way. When they didn't want me to hear stuff, they just speak in Sicilian. And of course, I wasn't fluent, but I started learning more and more of it, as I went. And so they might be in the other room, and I hear them say something, I'd run back in the next room and ask my mom, what did he say? What does this mean? What does this mean? And so they would literally go from speaking English like we are now and just flip a switch and go into Sicilian. And so they try to, how they said, but I learned, there was times where I learned, like one time I was at my cousin Nina's graduation party and I just got out of jail and there's all the family is there. All the bosses are sitting around one big table. And my grandpa says in Sicilian, says, hey, listen, Alonzo just got out of jail. I want to give him a job. The job he was referring to was, some illicit activity at this business that they own. And my grandmother right away says, no, he just got out of jail. I don't want him to get in any more trouble. I want him to go to college. I want him to do this, that. And I'm standing there, and finally I spoke up and went, hey, listen, do I get a say in this? And they all turned and looked at me. They're like, you know what Grandpa just asked, Tony? I said, yeah, it's a pretty job. And he says, my grandma's like, no, slams her hand down. She's like, we're done talking about it. We'll talk about it when we get home because I live with them. And that was the end of it. The old mother, man, old grandmother, she was the boss. But anyways, that was their code. When they started talking Italian, I knew they were talking about me or something I shouldn't hear. So your story, Tell me the evolution. Where did it go from there? You started driving. Didn't you get involved in the porn industry?
Well, yeah. In 1970, we my godfather Bobby Bongiovanni and Pete DeGuitanopoulos, which was two crew members with the Gallos, wound up hooking up with a distributor. And they were having trouble distributing Screw. So,
which is a famous porn mag, right?
Screw's a porn mag, yes.
Yeah.
Came out in '68. It was like the first big porn. It was $1 million business. And what happened was they needed a new distributor, and so Pete the Greek and Bobby brought it downtown to us, and we wanted to be in distributors. And from 1970 to 2004, we were the distributors for Screw and many other papers. We were a ton of papers came out after that, and then we were Gucciano came out with his Playmate Penthouse. We wound up distributing that. All become friends, and that's how we got in the porn business. So we were distributors for 70 to 2004. That was our main income for all those years.
We did other money, things. Man. Must have did good.
Did well, did really well. And we controlled everything. We had exclusivity on it. So any sex paper that was made had to come through Astro. So it was pretty good.
Now let me ask: let's say hypothetically, some other guys try to freaking step on your toes and come in with a new magazine, new porn, new whatever. Did you guys have to muscle them out? Did you have to freaking stop?
We had to be the distributor. No one else could distribute. That's it. Any sex paper had to come to us. That's it. Us, locally, and DB had the national. They would deliver everything national, and we would deliver everything local, 5 boroughs.
That's crazy. So you were just basically the primary distributor of like the biggest porn mag in America for like 30 years. That's crazy. But I mean, I'm sure, Frank, that somewhere along the lines, there's a lot more like activity involved. Because I imagine people were trying to maybe do what you were doing and you had to put a stop to it. Or the crew, there's people maybe tried to infringe or undercut you in price or whatever. I can't imagine for 30 years you guys said nobody gave you an issue. Or did they?
No, because we had the exclusivity for in the 5 boroughs, and the DB was a Gambino guy. They had the national distributing. Who was going to come? Is yours. No one come and take anything or try to take anything.
Yeah, and that's why they were scared.
Rule is if a paper came out, it was yours. That's it. There was no arguments. There was never no hassles.
That's good. I'm surprised. I have to imagine in Detroit. Well, it is a lot like that in Detroit, but like there's certain crew that controls all the porn, like the peep shows and the strip clubs and stuff like that. And there's been times where like somebody came along and some outsider, not part of the family, was able to get a liquor license in a strip club or whatever. And he had 2 options: either pay us or just sign it over. But people are stupid. Sometimes they were dumb and they'd have to get burnt down or something to show them that we were serious. So anyway, tell me, like, so in that life over the years, I'm sure you had some crazy experiences. That's kind of what the viewers will want to know. Like, what is couple of the most interesting things or crazy things that you saw, heard, or were involved in over the years? I'm sure some of them are in your book.
Funny or serious?
Funny or serious, doesn't matter.
I mean, what impressed me all these years and still to now is the story I tell about my godfather, Bobby Darrow. You know, when I used to pick him up every morning. He lived on Avenue L in a Sutton building. And when I used to pick him up in the morning, I'm a young guy too. So, and every morning I used to come in and he used to have a pot of coffee ready and offer me a cup of coffee. We have a cup of coffee. Then he used to open the window and throw this thing out the window. And I would never say nothing. Out the window. You throw the coffee out the window, the rest of the pot out the window, whole thing out the window. And I would never say nothing to him, but these guys are crazy, you know? So, I mean, it was good, but crazy. So I never said nothing to him. So one morning, after months, I said to him, Bobby, I can ask you a question. He goes, what? I says, you throw this coffee out the window every morning. Why do you do that for? He goes, what's wrong with you? He goes, you know, the dead people have to have coffee in the morning. I went, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, I chose the dead people because it was cemetery. He was right next to the cemetery. I said, okay, pal. And I just like, don't say that's it. Don't ask no more questions because this guy's out of his mind, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that I always found funny. I mean, the same guy, you know, 4th of July, 1973, we're in Freeport, and he comes in and we're all drinking, and it's 4th of July. He gets up early one night and takes a boat. We have a boat, takes it out. 7 o'clock in the morning, he comes back in handcuffs with some police. And they knock on the door, and my father says, okay, help you. Know this guy in the back seat? He goes, yeah, he's a guest of mine. Well, he's got a boat with no license, no nothing. We want to make sure it wasn't stolen. Okay. So what happens? My father says, yeah, it's my boat. He went out. Yeah. They said, and by the way, we heard shots. And that's what brought me to the guy in the boat. I said, well, we don't know nothing about that. So the cops leave him. My father says, what you doing? He goes, well, I had nothing to do, so I want to go fishing. My father says, how you go fishing? You didn't bring no rods and nothing like that. He goes, I was shooting a fish. So what he was doing, he went out in the morning and he took a pistol and was shooting that fish. And he throws a gun in the water. That's why he didn't find the water. So he says, but you don't do that. That's crazy. He goes, well, I wanted to do something. He goes, but I'm mad. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, I lost a good gun. You know, stuff like that I always found funny. I mean, these crazy people do funny stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I had one time I had to go meet Frank, Costello. I wound up driving Frank Costello to have lunch with Frank Costello because my father was busy, and I had to drive Joe Trapani, and I wound up having lunch with Costello, which was experience, you know.
Yeah.
It's all interesting stuff, you know. Being around Joe Gallo was an experience.
Well, what was that like? I mean, was he really that crazy?
Joe, it was crazy as a fox, but he was crazy, yeah. But you know, crazy as he had a belief, and he, you know, he was a real gangster. He didn't believe in nothing else, you know. And he had that big feud with the Bafacci and then Colombo.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell a story about him. One night in 1971, after he gets out, he has a big argument with Colombo. Tells Colombo to go see what you got to go do. And that night, somebody said that, you know, you got no made guys in the crew except himself. Larry was dead himself, and a guy named Mooney. There's only 2 guys made in the crew. So he says, don't worry about it. He goes, because I'm my own family. He goes, I'm gonna make everybody. So now he called everybody into the club one night, and he made everybody. We're the only made crew that was never recognized, but he made every guy. He made 27 guys that night. Went to some ritual, rambling on as a nut that he was.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if he's a made guy and a boss, and he decides to make you, you're made.
You're not recognized because he was a boss of his crew. He wasn't an official family. They're part of the Bafacci family.
Yeah, he didn't get the green light from the boss, huh?
No. We're the only crew that got made that was never recognized.
That's
we
funny.
laugh about it. Yeah, it was. But I mean, and my father got picked up for a couple homicides. We had to go to trial with that stuff. I mean, we got picked up for, at one point we got into the drug business, and we had a lot of headaches with that. Made a lot of money, but made a lot of headaches with that.
No, I've been there.
And then people dying around you, getting shot at. I got shot at a couple of times,
Wait, stop right there. When you got shot at, tell me what happened.
Me and another guy was one of the young guys from Pleasant Street, and they asked us to we had to go get pizza. And we I just bought a car from a guy named Stormy. We bought a car off him. He had a 65 Cadillac convertible, beautiful. And I bought it off him. And then in between that, it was a big breakaway in the family in 1974, 73 or 74. 73, and they asked me and Mateo to go pick up the Queens Pitch Street.
Wait. The breakaway. What happened with the breakaway? Like why
the breakaway? Well, after Joey got killed, see, there's a lot of stories here. When Joey got killed in '72, there was a big breakup in the family, in the crew. Some guys didn't want to stay. Some guys wanted to go back to Colombo Family, and about a dozen guys broke away that were very close, and they wound up feuding with us. We wound up going to war with them in '73 because all the business were, entangled with each other. All the Shylock business, all the clubs, everybody was, in bed with each other, and this didn't work. So they wound up shooting, wound up going to war, and a couple of guys got killed. A couple of guys got, messed up real bad, and that lasted for about 2-3 years. Buried a lot of friends doing that. And then,
back to when you
speaking on Joey I'm sorry.
Well, back to when you got shot at with the pizza. What happened?
They sent us for the pizza, and we leave the block. I'm in Smokey's car, and we turn off Pleasant Street. We turn on to Van Brunt, and they probably didn't know I was in the car because we pretty much was off limits to go shoot at the young guys. We're supposed to do that. That's why Louis the Syrian said, let the guys go get the kids go get the pizza, because they couldn't leave the blocks. We had an organized crime squad on the block, so they let us go. And when I got off the block, there was a car in the corner, and I turned onto Van Blunt, and they just opened up with a bunch of shots. I wound up hitting a Johnny pump, destroying the car. And they took off, and we went back to Pleasant Street. I mean, I got hurt a little bit, but I didn't get shot, but I got hurt a little bit. Lost the car. That was we were disappointed we lost the car. But
yeah, they put a bunch of bullet holes in that caddy?
Oh, man, yeah, they had nice bullet holes in that. It was probably 38, 32s. Probably about a half a dozen in there.
That sucks.
But it was an argument.
It was a retaliation.
They yelled about it. They thought it was someone else. They thought someone else was in the car. They didn't think we were in the car. So just little things happen like that. Me and little things happen like that. But being around Joey was an experience. Joey Gallo. This guy was for real, man. This guy was, we love Joey. Everyone who's there loved Joey. As cuckoo as they say he is, I don't think the other guys had passion for their boss like Joey had passion. You know what I mean? So it was a big letdown, and when Joey got killed, we were all really hurt.
Which we know wasn't the Irishman, but that's the joke.
Oh, no, 100% no, not at all.
That guy's a freaking joke.
Yeah, that guy's a joke, man. But listen, it makes money, it sells, but it was completely wrong.
Yeah, well,
we know who killed him because Peter Greek Dinopoulos was in the restaurant when he got shot in the ass. So we know who it is. We knew that night who shot Joey. So,
just like Detroit. Everybody, who killed Hoffa, but listen, the guy being from Detroit, I kind of have some inner knowledge of how that family works, me and my family. And I will tell you this, that what in the movie, which never got covered at all, but basically he was a Teamster guy from Detroit. My family owned him. He was our guy. And then they started getting loans from him to build casinos in Vegas. Family built 4 Vegas casinos on Teamster money. My family, or the tropical crime family. They got busted with a prison. One of them went to prison for that, underboss. Tony Zarelli. But what I'm getting at is anybody who wanted Teamster money had to go through Detroit to get it, and then they were getting points.
Mm-hmm.
So if like you came to me and wanted a loan for $5 million to build a casino or whatever, we'd be happy to get it to you from Hoffa. We're just going to take 2 points off the top or whatever. So basically Hoffa was owned by Detroit, and when he started talking about he's going to expose, organized crime, whatever, they had a lot of dog in the fight. They had a lot to lose. There was, they had he had so much dirt on Detroit. The guy, Tony Giacalone, the guy he was going to meet that day, is a man that I worked for on and off, for about 10 years. Very dangerous guy, very serious guy. Kind of a criminal mastermind, really. He trained like these blacks in the hood and organized them like a mafia family with the hierarchy structured exactly the same. Very violent. Any potential rats, kill him right away. This dude was lunatic. He's still out there, actually. He's free. But at the end of the day, the feds believe he's responsible for up to 40 murders, this guy, Tony. He's dead now, so whatever. But trust me when I tell you, they didn't need some Irish dude from New Jersey to come to Detroit to get rid of their own guy. I mean, it's a total fallacy. And then for him to say he killed Joe Gallo just confirms what a bullshit artist he is. You know what I mean?
To show you, yeah, man, that's really puts the nail in the coffin, man. Right. How wrong that is. I mean, we knew the same day, and also Lucarelli wouldn't admit to it. He ran away because he was afraid they were going to kill him, so he ran and he admitted to being on the hit team. So I mean, what more unique than that, man?
Right? No, exactly. We know, everybody knows that, and so why that stupid book is a joke, man. And dude, I got inside knowledge on a couple of things. That book had been tried to be sold once and it didn't sell, so they tried to bring it back, and they said if you say you killed Joe Gallo, I can bring it back to the publishers, maybe get a chance. The publishers were like, we don't want it. Then they came back, his agent said, if you say you killed Jimmy Hoffa, I'll get this book sold. Changed it, the author changed it, went back, said, here, I killed Hoffa, Gallo, what else you need? I killed Jesus. I'll say anything. I'm a deathbed, so this guy is a joke. And then they make a $200 million movie out of it. Like my novels, which actually are fiction, just like The Irishman, are 1,000 times better. Maybe your son-in-law told you about my books, but I mean, people are saying I wrote the next Godfather. They're saying my book is the next Godfather. If I could get a $50 million movie in Scorsese, what I'm saying, we'd have a iconic classic, generational classic. Instead, they make that garbage. It's insulting, really. I mean, here's the stock of Scorsese and De Niro and all them. It was here before that movie. Now it's way down. I just, nothing. So tell me about the craziest thing you remember about Joe Gallo.
Joe was passionate. Don't forget, he was only out for a year when he came out. So, and he didn't stay downtown much. He was in New York a lot. He was hanging out with celebrities. Yeah, Manhattan.
Some people don't realize.
Hanging out with celebrities. What's that?
Oh, when you say New York, and you're from Brooklyn, a lot of listeners won't realize if you say that he was in the city or he's in New York, you're referring to Manhattan. That you're from New York.
He was in Manhattan.
You'll get confused.
So he was hanging out in Manhattan with a lot of celebrities, and then once or twice he would come down the block, President Street, and take care of his gangster business. But he was just a very passionate guy. I mean, he was serious and passionate. Did I ever see him do nothing wrong? No, because the year he was in the street, he never did nothing wrong.
So, passionate about being a boss. Like, he'd come in, insert himself, like, listen, boys, what we're doing is real. This is serious. I need you to act this way, do this, handle that, blah, blah. Because I've known bosses like that. I've known bosses in Detroit, like, very serious, very passionate. They take it. It is their life. I mean, it is their thing. So, I like that is the kind of boss you want. If you're in life.
Plus, he broke every rule. He didn't follow rules. We had Puerto Ricans in the crew. We had Syrians in the crew. We had Irish guys in the crew. So he didn't follow none of the rules. So, he wasn't.
Why do you think he was killed, though? Because of that?
Why?
Yeah.
No, he got killed because he got blamed for killing Colombo, of course, and it was a thorn in the side. So he was destined for that. I mean, he was from the day he got out, he was arguing, telling people to go to hell.
So he didn't like Colombo because Colombo was making waves, in the media and stuff.
No, he didn't give a shit about that. He didn't like Colombo because he said Colombo didn't deserve it. Colombo. He was one of the guys. Joe Colombo was one of the guys they kidnapped in 61. So he knew him from 61. So he didn't believe he should be boss, and he didn't want to listen to him. And while Joey was away, the Gallo crew lost a lot of power because they were kicking up to Joey Colombo, and Joey didn't like that. Joey Gallo didn't like that. So when he got home, he told them, "We ain't kicking up nothing no more, and I want back what was mine." And so that feud started right away. Yeah. They sent a couple of guys to speak to Joey, and Joey told him, "You just get out, come back with some money, go out." And he told everybody start getting guns because we're going to go to war again. And so he was very passionate what he believed in, but he believed he was separate. He never believed he was part of the Profaci Colombo family. He really he ran his crew like he was a boss.
Yeah,
that was his philosophy. Was he nuts? I think it's kind of dangerous. You go 27 guys go against hundreds. I mean, but we did it. You know what I mean? We did it. And then when Joe Colombo got killed, that was it. He was told 100 times, don't go to the city, don't go with nobody, he told him, no one's gonna kill me. They ain't got the balls. That was his philosophy. He wasn't afraid. But they got him,
That's part crazy, that's part stupid. That's
he really believed that he was invincible. He was an old school gangster. I mean, he lived at 20 miles a day. He wasn't like, some guys, businessmen and then gangsters. And no, he was just 24 gangster,
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't say I really ever knew anyone personally like that, because where I came from, the gangster part is like very small and hidden and secret, that part of the life. And then the rest of your life, you're just a legit businessman, family man, whatever. And so it's one of the things, like New York seems to have a lot of those guys who are just gangster all the time, gangster in the street, gangster everywhere, whatever. Guys like that, what happens is you end up getting killed or you end up in prison. And so the philosophy of the Detroit boss is keep it very quiet, keep it very cloistered, keep it very secretive, keep it whatever, and then get our money, raise our kids, go on vacation, and enjoy our life. But on the other hand, I see the allure of the power of saying, I'm going to make my own family. I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to run everything. But again, you have much more tenured, older, commission family head bosses that are like, nah, man, it don't work like this. These rules. And so, we'll kill you and all your boys. So that might lead to my next question. After he was killed, did you dissolve the crew, or were they absorbed into some of the other family? Or
no? After Joey died, it lasted another 2-3 years to get as a crew, but about 2-3 years, because it was a wreck then, because Joey Colombo was effectively the acting guy. I think was Giacovelli. Giacovelli was acting at the time. We had no contact with them at all. And for 3 years, we just was in the middle of that internal fight that no one, stepped up or got involved.
Well, I'm saying, were the Colombo crew guys coming after you still?
No, it stopped pretty much right after Joey got killed. It pretty much stopped. After a couple of months going back and forth, some guys getting killed, who thought was involved with it. But right after that, it slowed down and it became internal. Because guys wanted to go back with the Colombos. And that's what the headache was. Sure. About 12 guys left on one night. It was and that's why the shooting started again between 73 to 75, 76, 73 to 76. It was all internal trouble. That's why there was no trouble with us outside guys, because the Colombo family said, let those guys just go kill themselves. They have enough trouble on their own.
So
let's not
I find this very fascinating, and I think the listeners will find this really fascinating too, is the fact that, so to be clear, so the Gallo crew was under the Colombo family flag, but Joe Gallo said, F Joe Colombo, I don't like him, he doesn't deserve to be the boss. I'm going to run my crew, which is 27 guys, a serious crew. I mean, this 27 guys running the crew right should be pulling millions off the street if they're doing it right. Everybody should be getting some money. So I can get why, like, Joe Colombo and his family would be like, hey, you're not kicking up to us. I got a problem with that. You guys are pulling millions off the street, running around on my territory under my flag. You know, the other families are respecting you as my flag. So you got to pay. Now, because these guys kind of ran their crew as if it was their own family. Joe, that's why they called him Crazy Joe Gallo. Crazy Joe, because the dude thought he basically splintered his own family off the Colombo family. So there was now 6 families in New York, not 5, 6. And he's like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it this way. A full-time gangster. And that's the problem. If you get a full-time gangster who's like a John Gotti or Joe Gallo, he's a street guy, man. He's really a thug at heart. And that's the guy. He's not really a boss. He's not meant to be a boss. He should never rise to be a boss. He's going to get everybody killed. He's not working together as a unit. You know what I'm saying? Like, a boss should work with the other families to make everybody happy and quiet and making money and work together. Joe Gallo was a gangster. That's all he was. He should have never been nothing but a soldier. He should have never got past that. But he said, he's just like John Gotti. I'm taking what's mine. He believed, which is cool with him, but he's also taking 27 guys with him, and some guys are getting killed, and some guys are now in limbo after the end of this war. They're like, where do I go? I still got Colombos who want to kill me. Do I go over to their side and say, hey, listen, I'm with you? Will they take me? Will they trust me? Will I get a sit down and say, hey, I'm with you? And then, bam, get popped in the head for it? So, I mean, I can imagine at that time in your life, it had to be pretty stressful and crazy.
Well, it was. Well, it was. You know, a lot of the guys, it was a money problem, too. You know, everything started drying up.
Yeah, cut off. Once you get cut off, the money, the racket's cut off, right?
You had 27 guys who were there every day, but you had probably another 30 guys that were associates that were involved with. So I just at one point, the guys turned around and they said they didn't want the leadership that was there after Joey died was left up to Albert, and nobody wanted to. Most of the guys didn't want to be with Albert. And,
Albert who?
The brother, the youngest brother.
Okay.
Albert Gallo.
Oh yeah, right.
He was the one left over. So that's what the breakaway was about. And they asked my father to take over the crew, and my father said no, because he said that it was a Gallo crew, Gallo family, and he never do that. He stood with the Gallos, but some of the guys just left. And then, like I said, they started shooting each other. A lot of guys got shot. A lot of guys got hurt. And then they broke up. And then in 1976, Chin just came down, and we were friends with Chin, and just said, "That's it. To stop all this bullshit."
So Vincent Chin Gigante. So what happened? He basically said, "This is over," and you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing? You know, what are you?
Because he'll kill you in a second.
Yeah, Chin was bad. Yeah, Chin was a really serious guy.
Yeah.
So we wound up dissolving the crew, and we wound up going to New York with Chin.
Genovese. So you jumped families to the Genovese?
The whole crew, everybody got released. The whole Gallo crew got released. That's it. They were renegades. They got
New York.
Colombos were happy to get rid of us. Yeah, let them go. Let them go. Please let them go.
Yeah.
And everybody got released. Whoever's like the 27 guys all got released to.
So basically, you went to New York, Manhattan, in the city, and worked with the Genovese crew, and just kept your rackets over there. Did you still work in Brooklyn,
right,
but you were part of Manhattan's crew, or how'd that work?
Right. We stood in Brooklyn, but we just part of that. We just had to answer up to Manhattan. But yeah. We were still in Brooklyn. No, we never left Brooklyn.
Were you guys answering to Tony Salerno, or the Chin?
We either one. We were still with Punchy Iliano, Frankie Iliano, Punchy, and those guys were still there. So we were still basically in their crew. So that's what we would talk. I mean, we would meet the other guys and see the other guys. I mean, I met Chin quite a few times and stuff after that, and those guys that were in charge, like Funza Wild. We used to see Funza Wild all the time, Frank Terry, but we didn't answer to them. I mean, eventually you had to, some came down, but we were under the punch.
Yeah, it's a street boss or crew chief, crew guy in the street, capo.
Yeah.
So
especially that guy like me, I wouldn't be. I sat with Chin because my father was there. I mean, I couldn't go sit with Chin at all.
Yeah.
But, or Funza. But being with Ricky, you can, being with him, you can go sit with him if you're there. But yeah, we were there for a few years, but we stood in Brooklyn.
Not many people sat with Chin. Let's be honest with you. I mean, very few. He didn't meet a lot of people. I mean, he was like, he made 4 or 5 guys that he talked to. That's it. So tell me about.
Very funny. Father.
So tell me.
My father was close to Chin.
That is cool, actually. I mean, that means they had a lot of respect for your dad, bro. If Chin is sitting down with your dad, that just tells you the level of respect they had for him. High, because that guy there, he didn't meet with anybody. So
no.
I want to ask about your book. So your book, Lord High Executioner, it's about Albert Anastasia. Tell me, like, what inspired that book and kind of where it came from. And I know, like, I don't know if you had any first-hand experience with Anastasia. He's a super fascinating character. We at National Crime Syndicate just released a new documentary on Albert Anastasia. And to me, he's one of the most fascinating guys, in the history of the mob. So you just wrote this new book, which is cool. I want to hear you tell me about what you know about him, why you wrote this book, what inspired you.
Well, I always admired Albert too, Anastasia. He was a real loose cannon, but he was, he had an interesting story.
Yeah.
Since when he came over from Italy and what he did, and the whole story historically was interesting. And more interesting, to you. And my Uncle Joe Chapani happened to be with him, with the Albert. And so, Joe used to tell some stories. So you had really close people that were around him. So you get this to, get a little more of a flavor of him. So when we did the book, it was, it's been so many years ago. I mean, it's 80 years ago almost, 70 years ago with this, it happened. But I saw there was no books out on Albert. So I said, well, maybe a book on Albert would be good. So, I did my homework, everybody else, to do a book, and just added the few things that, what that Joe Shep told me about, about Albert killing his boss, Magano, and how Joey told him, speaking to Ricky, and that he definitely was on the hit on Albert. And like a lot of people question that hit on Albert, with Joey and Larry and Joe Jelly and Carmine. But I keep on telling everybody that the only reason those guys, Joey and Larry, got straightened out was because of that. Otherwise, it would never got made, because they weren't really popular.
Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, when he says straighten out, he means it's made, takes the oath. And here's also, go back and say that again, but with the last names, so people know, like, if they want to do a research or homework, or even when they read your book, they kind of have an idea. Albert Anastasia was killed while getting a haircut, yes?
Yes, in Manhattan.
Who were the hitters?
And it was Joey Gallo, Larry Gallo, Joe Jelly, and Carmine Persico.
Carmine Persico, Jr.
Yeah, he was on a hit team. Yeah,
I didn't know.
That's how these guys all got made. That's how they got made. That's why everybody argues a point. There was another crew that did it, another crew did it. But being around these guys, they did it. No one, you don't go bragging that you kill somebody. You don't do that. Unless you're just a shithead young guy that's an idiot.
Well, like Gotti.
Yeah. Well, that's how they got made. Because Profaci didn't like Joey at all, you know what I mean? And Larry they liked, but Joey wasn't liked. But he earned it. That's why he got made. That's the only reason why he got made. So, and that just proves he was, not, if you don't know the story, if you're not there, if you put it together, that's why he got straightened out. So it all just links.
Profaci ordered the hit on Anastasia, and why?
He hooked up with Colombo and Genovese. He wanted them out.
And
they wanted to make, they wanted Albert out because they want to give it to Carlo Cabino. Carlo Cabino was the underboss at the time. And Albert was a mad hatter, so he time to go. Just like it's done 100 times before, it was time to go. And they put up Vito Genovese and Carlo Campino got together. They went down to Profaci to give, and those guys did. He got the team to do the hit.
Huh. That's interesting. You know, I actually have it's one of Profaci's sons, I think, married one of my aunts. It's crazy, but anyways, the families are close, intertwined. But so that's fascinating.
They did that a lot years ago.
What's that?
They did that a lot years ago. Intermarried.
Oh,
All the wise guys, all the big shots always intermarried. It made it strong. The family strong.
Yep, exactly. They still do that in Detroit. There's probably an honest like 7 families, and they just marry their sons and daughters off to keep it stronger and in the family, and people won't rat on family, and they keep all the things, you know, inside this like cell. But they did actually intermarry. Like New York and Detroit did a lot of business. To give you an idea, my uncle had a bunch of businesses he was partners with Paul Castellano. And so they owned a bunch of like delis in New England and Boston and stuff. And they just had a bunch of businesses. And in New York, the Profaci family married our family. So they were, you know, their weddings were all kind of, my parents were at the weddings and all that stuff. And a lot of New York guys would come, and at least New York royalties would come in. And my dad still say it sometimes. He's like, man, I used to go to these weddings. It was just like, you know, the Godfather movie or something. I'm like, yeah, that's what I hear. But anyway, so that's a fascinating, I didn't know that so these guys wanted Anastasia out. Was it because he was a loose cannon and he was crazy, or was it because, you know, he was?
Oh, yes, he was. Albert was dangerous. Albert was gangster. He was dangerous. It was time to go. And listen, it's happened 20 times before that. The underbosses took out the boss. It's happened 100 times. In fact, I'm writing a new book about that now. It was just time to go. You know, these guys like Vito was, you know, not a nice guy. You know what I mean? He's not a nice guy. So power, you know.
Did Vito speak English well?
Huh?
Did Vito speak English well? Wasn't he from the old country?
Yeah, but he spoke English. Yeah, he spoke English. Carlo, when I was with Carlo Campino, he spoke very broken English, but he spoke English. Yes.
Well, I do know this. What happens is when you get a guy like Anastasia or Joe Gallo, it's like I said, the guy who plays gangster 24/7, and he's not playing. That's who he is. This life is who he was raised up. He respects it. He honors it. That's him. That's his life. However, you get a guy like that, and he gets into the position of power. Now he's doing things that are attracting attention from the feds. They're interfering with money earning. They're getting people killed, getting beef started, you know, interfamily beef and cross-family beef. When somebody gets to that point where they're starting to create more trouble than they're worth because they're playing gangster all the time, then they got to go. And that's exactly what it sounds like they did with Albert Anastasia. And they called one hell of a hit, even though. I mean, geez, that's one hell of a hit squad.
It was. But that's how it works, man. When you're gangster like that and you're not playing with the boys, you know, you take your ball and go home at night, they don't like playing with you no more. And these guys are cutthroats. There's no love lost here. Just like what they did with John Gotti did with Castellano. You know, it's just ongoing. It's just ongoing. It never ends.
Stops. I mean, I guess if you get the right bosses in place, because, you know, I'm just saying, I refer to Detroit, and I step back. I've been out 20 years, and when I look back and I see a guy like Jack Tocco, he was the boss for 39 years. He only did 2 years in prison. And what happened, he ended up getting indicted for being the boss of the Detroit Mafia for 30-some years, indicted for this, convicted of this. He only did 2 years in prison. Everybody knows he had the judge in the pocket. Everybody knows. The prosecutor appealed the sentence because he originally got 1 year and a day. Took some federal camp. They appealed it, went up to the appeals, but because of money, it bounced back to the same judge who resentenced him to 2 years. There's a guy who gets hit for the RICO, and you know what I'm saying, tied to casinos and extortion and other, and you get 2 years. The moral of the story is if you're a good boss, you can quietly manage your family and make money for decades if you know what you're doing. I'm not going to say the boss's name today, God forbid he may even see this, but he was trained, groomed, and prepared based on what I've been told to take over the family. There was a very ceremonial transition a couple years ago, and the boss was getting sick, and he had this event where all the maid capos were there, and he basically handed it over to him, which is like his nephew through marriage, and he said, listen, run the family the way I ran the family, and we can keep this thing of ours going. And that's it. So feds don't even really bother him so at all, because he's not out there. He's not in their face. He's not like pushing it in their face. Very quietly working with city officials, very quietly working with unions, very quietly working with crews that maybe do gambling, some shakedowns, drugs, whatever, but do it very quietly. Keep yourself insulated. Don't make any waves, and you might retire a boss. But guys like Gallo and Anastasia, it always ends the same for them.
That's the problem with Gotti and Joe and Gallo and Anastasia. They were different for different times too. I'm out of 20 years too, and I have no more friends, and I don't know what the hell they're doing, except I read newspapers. Which is a whole different mindset, And don't forget the freedom to walk around like that, 1960s and 70s and 50s. You had different laws. You had everybody in your pocket. You were able to buy people. They turn it cheek. Today's a whole different world we live in. So I don't know how that can happen at all no more unless you're a real businessman. And
you gotta be. You gotta be.
Otherwise, you can't do that anymore.
Well, I know that I've been told and heard rumors, and people have heard the rumors that some Sicilians have come in from Italy and kind of restructured the families and initiated the rules and the consequences of informing and things like that, and really focused on more of like building a corporate structure out of the families than gangsterism in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So if you can train your recruits, your young guys, you can train them that it's more important to start a business, manage a business, maybe do a little numbers on the side, maybe a little poker game here, maybe a little of this and a little of that. But it's in the streets with a pistol running around talking, man, you looked at me funny, I'm going to freaking blow your head off. That stuff there is bygone. That's over. Let's get you in prison.
That's history. That's history. With the Sicilians coming over, the restructuring, bring it back to the old quiet days. Yeah. That's in business. Making money in business, not walking around flashy and social clubs and bars and yelling in the street. They're not doing that. No, that's maybe they want to do it, maybe because they miss the old days. Or, then they're all younger than us anyway. All the guys coming up are all younger than us, and they just read about how it was, and they just realize, anyone with a brain realize you can't do that unless it's over.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the boss, if they see some young guys acting funny like that, when they read the books, they see the movies, they whatever, they like start want to act in gangster, and the boss, or even if it's capo, man, it's a skipper, whoever it is, pulls them aside, says, listen, man, stop pretending you're freaking, you're like Scarface. You're not, all right? This is business. We're here to make money, provide for our family, buy a home, buy a car, move, retire early in Florida, live your life, go travel, see the old country, whatever. This ain't about running around the streets going, banging on your chest going, I'm a gangster, bang, bang, bang. In Detroit, it's a true story. I can't really confirm it, but I mean, as far as I know, it's true. The boss initiated an edict that says that in order to become made or get straightened out, you have to get a business degree. And so you have to go to college to get a business degree. And by the way, the boss, Jack Doko, he went to school and got a business degree. Same school my mother went to. They all go to Wayne State. And so all these guys, these upper echelons, the guys who run the crews, the capos, they're all educated. They're all like business educated. Some of them have gone to school. Like my one uncle, he got a job in the IRS. He went to school and worked for the IRS for the family. It was crazy. I mean, like the information he was able to give them, about who's being investigated for tax fraud and evasion, it was incredible. My Uncle Sal was my mother's brother. But anyway, so smart bosses think like that. It's times of the gangster stuff. It's got to go. Get your money. These guys, you know, you can retire and make a lot of money. And eventually, like Jack Tocco, I'm sure he had no involvement in anything illegal the last 25 years of his life. He had guys under him giving him envelopes full of money, you know, who were doing illegal stuff, everything from drugs and extortion. He himself, nothing. He had been clean for 25 years. How do you get him? That's the way you do it.
I guess that's the way, you know. And but then again, if it was doing something wrong, nobody's gonna tell you anyway, because you have to worry about everybody around you.
Yeah.
You know, if no one gets caught on their own, hardly anyone gets caught on their own. Everything's an informant or
no. There's always an informant. There's always a rat. In Detroit, you probably don't know this, that there's only been one made guy to ever flip. Only one, who's actually a cousin of mine. But I didn't really know him. I barely knew him. But only one made dude ever flipped. Now, there's been, you know, associates who'd inform and drop stuff like that. But you'd be surprised if you did, like Scott Bernstein, who's the author of Motor City Mafia, about the family.
Right.
He's got a timeline of guys who have disappeared over like 30 years or 40 years, of guys who were suspected of informing on the family, and then they vanished or were killed. They were found dead. And I think almost immediately after they informed, like they were working with the Fed, and the Feds had like a record of it. And then shortly after the guy started working with the Feds, within several days or a week or 2 weeks, the dude went missing or was ended up dead. Now, we all know that the family had some Feds on the payroll. They were getting information from the Feds who were saying, these guys are snitches, these guys are rats, these guys are informing. And then they go find them and get a guy like me who maybe get buddy up to him and take him out to the titty bar and get him drunk, have a few drinks with him, and then walk out of the bar with him and, you know, double tap his ass, or just smash him in the head with a bat, drag him in a van, and whatever. Just what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Exactly.
So I want to finish up and kind of. So your book is, I'm excited to actually read this book. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to read these days because I'm working on my next novel, and I got a lot of stuff going on. I got an internet company, I got 2 YouTube shows, I got all this stuff going on. But I'm fascinated by the subject content of your book, Lord High Executioner. And I'm going to read it, man. And know what we're going to do, and I'm telling you this, we're going to give away one of your books. So I need a copy. We're going to do not a raffle. We're just going to do a giveaway, and then like next week, you know, we're going to give away a copy of my book, a copy of your book, and there was one other book. I can't remember if it was Larry Mazza's or not, but we're going to give away.
Okay, I'll make sure to send it to you.
Yeah, make sure you do that. So
make sure we send it to you.
You want to share before we finish up, like about your book or your story? Now's the time. Anything fascinating or interesting? We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, basically, listen, we walked away 20 years ago, and we had to keep on making a living. So I got into the magazine business, because I was always into distributing, you know, newspapers, sex, whatever it was. It was just natural to be into when we did the magazine. It just came so natural, and it did so well.
Yeah. And by the way, that's Mob Candy Magazine. By the way, that's no longer in print. But they may be resurrecting it as as a electronic magazine. But it's really cool. It was featured on Mob Wives. It's all in the magazines and TV and stuff. Super cool. And Armand Asante on the cover of it. So it's pretty cool.
We did well with it. Just that I was getting tired, you know, and I started writing. And then, you know, I'm on my 7th book now. So, you know, it takes a lot of time. You know, I'm not a writer. You know, I do the best I can do.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I make a joke. The first book I wrote was Lying in the Basement. I didn't know how to spell anything. I had to bust my wife's chops and my son's chops. How do you spell this? How do you spell that? How do you spell this? It got so frustrating because I didn't know how to spell anything.
Hey, listen, and you're preaching to the
now I know how to spell everything.
Let me tell you something, man. I wrote 9 novels in prison. I was in prison for 13 years.
Right.
I'm a natural writer. That's what I do. I have a gift for it. I mean, very talented. But spelling-wise, I was a terrible speller. So the first 3 books that I wrote, I didn't even have a dictionary, man. I'm in my prison cell, laying on my bunk, writing these 1,000-page books. I write very long, complex, plot-driven books. And I didn't even have a dictionary. Eventually, I got a dictionary, which helped me learn. And then eventually I got a typewriter, this little like word processor in prison, and I ended up writing 9 novels. But over the evolution of 13 years, I became very good speller and very good grammatic and syntax and things like that. So now I write as well as any best-selling author in the world. You could open my book and look at how it's structured and written and how well, and compare it, and you wouldn't know the difference. But it took me a long time to freaking learn it, man. Like, just hard work. I was just telling my wife last night, spending thousands of hours in a dictionary trying to find a word, how to spell it, what it means, making sure I'm using it right. It's a lot of work.
It's hard. A lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. We put a lot of time and effort in this. It's not just. It's not very easy. People think it's easy writing books. It's not.
It's not. That's why nobody does it. It's why most people can't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's very hard. Even the formatting and then getting a publisher and an agent and all that's even harder.
About that, yeah. I got lucky. I published the first book myself. They found it on the stands. That's how they picked. Kensington found me.
Nice.
Because I published my own book and they found me.
Kensington Books, by the way, is his publisher. And the name of his new book is Lord High Executioner, about Albert Anastasia. His last 2 books are more based on his life. And if you're interested in Frank's life, which I think you should be, because he's a fascinating character who was around a lot of crazy and interesting characters. He saw a lot of dirt. I have a feeling like on an interview like this, it's not easy. It's not that easy to basically go back and kind of tell a story that you in full detail. I'm the same way. So if you want to read the story in full detail, get his book, and he'll really walk you through some of the crazy stuff that he saw, heard, experienced, and said. What were the names of those 2 books?
The last one is What We're Really Cowboys, Life After President Street. The other one's President Street Boys. Lie in the Basement is the original book. Then I came out with Brooklyn Gangsters, 70 Square Miles of Blood and Balls. It's about a bunch of, the top, my bio on the top 15 gangsters that came up through Brooklyn. And there's Manhattan Gangsters, we all started. Bio on my read on another 16 guys that came through from the old times from Manhattan. And then I got another one I just releasing. It's called Dangerous Dames and Their Men. And it's about Dutch Schultz and his girlfriend, Jack McGurn and his girlfriend. It's about the girlfriends, and then the guys are added on, gun
That's
off.
pretty cool, man.
So, yeah, that's trying to get that going. It's out, but it's it's there.
We'll help
go mobcandymag.com. Go to mobcandymag.com, and everything we got is there.
I'm looking forward to helping you market those things. We'll help you get them out there, man. I mean, the hell, those are interesting, and I know how hard it is to write a book. Believe me, man. I'm a writer. That's what I do. So I know to sit down and write, especially like you say, if you're not like a natural writer and you're just teaching yourself to write, then it's an immense accomplishment. So, man, kudos to you, man. Well done. So I guess I'll close it up right now. I have a feeling we might have to do this again because I'd like to pick your brain, man. I enjoyed picking your brain. I'd like to go back to those 70s and those couple of years. Maybe you could pick 4 or 5 of those stories from the 70 to 77, and we kind of go through what was going on during those wars. Tell me about some of the characters. I know there's some really interesting guys that you hung out with and worked with and stuff like that, and maybe even share some of the stuff that they were doing racket-wise and stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff that the audience would love to hear from you. So we have to do this again, man.
Okay, very good. I'm here.
All right, Frank, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks for coming on. I look forward to reading your book. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I have a feeling that people are going to discover you and find you super fascinating, bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks, brother. We in here now.